Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome back to Born Again to Live, where we are in the midst of a series on David, a man after God's own heart. And honestly, I love the story of David. I read books on him. I watch movies. I watch shows. I mean, anything and everything I can watch on David, because if your name is a man after God's own heart, I'm kind of want to learn from you, because you failed a lot, but at the same time, God still calls you the starter of everything. I mean, when he describes his son Jesus, he said from a line of Jesse.
Yeah.
So that's David.
That's it. And yeah, he was a warrior, but he was like you. He was a Renaissance man, right? He played musical instruments. He danced with all of his might. You know, he wrote songs and psalms, and so he did it all. Like, he was such a fascinating character, that David.
I guess that's why I'm held back from being a musician, because I would be just unstoppable.
Yes, obviously.
And we have humility here.
Yes, do we?
Yeah.
That's my job. Let me be the humble one, Eric. But yeah, so we're going to just dive in, because there's a lot to cover today. I mean, I feel like today's the day. This is the story that sort of everybody knows, right?
Yeah, this is the one that's always quoted out there. In sporting events, they talk about David versus Goliath.
Yep.
You know, when a good team takes on a bad team, or, you know, whatever. So.
Yeah, but we're going to give a little bit of that backstory. And we're going to talk a lot about that as well, because there's just such good stuff in here. But, you know, the Philistines had been pretty much just ragging on the Israelites for so long, right? And so the way the story starts is both sides, the Israelites and the Philistines, were in the valley of Elah. And it says the battle line was like drawn in the middle, right, to meet the Philistines. So on one side of the valley, you have the Israelites. The other side is the Philistines. And then right where it hits that low point, kind of like in Theater in the Round or like a NASCAR race or something, down at the bottom, that's where everybody can see what's going on. So that's what's happening here. And, you know, the verse 4 in 1 Samuel 17, is that where I'm reading from?
Yes. 1 Samuel, the whole story, David and Goliath, goes from 1 Samuel 17, 1 through 58. So
yeah,
if we're referencing anything, it's in that passage.
Yes. So it says that, you know, this champion named Goliath, he was about 6 cubits and a span, which, you know, by today's terms is what?
I think somebody said 9 feet tall.
Okay.
That's
I mean, that's a big dude.
We have a 6'7" kid here at Big Blue that I think is huge.
Yeah.
To be another, foot and a half?
Yeah, that's crazy. 2.5 feet? I don't know, but
that's a tall dude.
So he was a giant. And it just talks about how heavy he's wearing, like this huge like helmet and this armor weighing 5,000 shekels.
Which means he wasn't just tall, he was really strong.
Yes. And it says that he had this giant like bronze javelin. I've held a javelin before, but a bronze one. We all know how heavy bronze is. So it's just like this guy was a beast.
Can I take a bunny trail?
Of course.
All right, so when we talked about the armor of God at one point in time, Chris Montgomery gave me a tidbit that he had a guy a long time ago tell him that there's a weapon missing from that armor that the Romans would have had, and it's a spear.
Okay.
And as Christians, we're not holding the spear in our armor because it's our prayers that we're sending out.
Ooh, I like that.
So anyways, that's my side note here. That Chris Montgomery taught me that, and I was like, I like that. Like,
spears we're sending out.
The spear that we're sending out ahead of ourselves is the prayers.
Well, and that's God going before us.
That's God going before us, yeah. So
I love that.
Yeah, so our armor has one more piece that we missed in that series.
Well, you know, Goliath did not forget any of his armor. So, you know, he's got it all, including that, right?
Yes.
So then, for 40 days, he would shout out and say, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become subjects and serve us." So every day, this is what, you know, and the Philistines, they were cocky, right? Because they knew they got the giant, right? And they said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." And it says, upon hearing those words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified.
Yes.
All right.
40 days. That's unreal that he stood out there yelling like that. 40 days from morning till evening.
Yep, for 40 days.
40 days.
But now here comes the star of our series,
yes.
David. So David comes out, and, we learned yesterday that he's the youngest of all of Jesse's sons, and at a very young age, he was anointed to be king, but he is still waiting to take on that role. He has integrity, and we said that he was obedient, and he believed in God's timing and God's provision. So anyway, he's just kind of being, he's just witnessing all of this. So one day, his dad comes to him and says, take this roasted grain and these breads to your brothers at the camp. And it says, see how they are and bring back some assurance, right? He says they are with Saul and all the men of Israel in the valley fighting against the Philistines. So early that day, he had been shepherding. So he left his flock, he loaded up his stuff, and he goes out to the battle lines to find his brothers. And who would you think is there taunting the armies yet again? Good old Goliath. So it says, so David left his things with the keeper of supplies, and he ran to the battle lines and asked his brothers how they were. And then as he was talking with them, that's when Goliath stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual kind of challenge, his usual defiance, and David heard it. And it said, whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear.
We're in verse 24 now.
Yeah.
Or we're at we're going down through and just paraphrasing.
Yeah. Yes. And so some of the Israelites said, do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel. I don't know about you, Eric. I would do it for the tax savings.
Yes, I would try.
OMG. Good grief. So, yeah. So, and again, it's already been 40 days, and all this time, nobody has stepped up for this. David asked the men standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? So here's David. He's just pissed.
Yeah.
He's like, who do you think you are?
That line of, for who is this uncircumcised Philistine who defies the armies of the living God?
Yeah.
Like, that is, man.
Yeah, so David had a real understanding about who he served and who God was, which goes back to him being a man after God's own heart. So they told him again, like, this is what's going to happen if you can kill this giant. So let's see. So then his older brother Eliab, he's kind of like, David, what are you doing down here? Like, aren't you supposed to be like tending some sheep? Like, get out of here. And he says, I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came only to watch the battle. So here's his brother kind of throwing a little shade his way, right?
Yeah. Well, and earlier we read that verse where he said it's a man of war. Maybe that's where he's coming from, that David was intrigued by war and intrigued by the battles, and he just wanted to see how it went because he hadn't been allowed to fight.
Yeah.
And maybe he was just trying to learn, and, that was where we came down to.
Yeah, he probably was itching, but again, he was kind of stuck in that shepherding position, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, they couldn't have all their sons go to battle because then who was going to be the shepherd? So I feel like, so anyway, here's his older brother kind of, giving it to him. And David's like, now what have I done? Which is hilarious. That sounds like something a little brother would say. Now what have I done? And he says, can I even speak? He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter. And the men answered him as before. So they're telling him, like, if you can do this, like, or any man that can do this will not have to pay taxes, will, be able to marry the king's daughter. And, be elevated to this place of honor. So then David goes up to Saul and says, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him, meaning me, right? I'll go and fight him. Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant," meaning himself, right? That's how they would have to talk to the king, right? So, "I have been keeping my father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it." All right. Remember this, guys. He's talking about lions and bears, okay? He's not...
We talked about that earlier in the first day of this, but yeah.
But he has this confidence, not because for no reason. Like, he has, Eric and I were talking about this before. Like, God equipped David. All that time that he's protecting the sheep, God is equipping him for this very moment. So, David's like, "Look, I have killed both lion and bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." So, Eric, I think this is why God loves him so much. He protected me then, and he's going to protect me right now.
And in mine, the next line says, and Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." I mean, he convinced the guy who the Lord had left. Yep, he's with you. Like, I agree.
Well,
that's confidence.
It is, but I'm also thinking, like, I'm sure Saul was just like, "Yeah, whatever, dude. Like, God be with you. Godspeed." I know, right? It's your life. I don't think that was said with any sincerity, but yeah. Go ahead, kid. Yes. And all right, so then we get to the part of the armor. It says, "Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was not used to them. 'I can't go in these,' he said, 'because I am not used to them.' So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, and put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand approached the Philistine."
Stop there for a minute.
Yeah, so this is everything. Everyone knows the battle of David and Goliath, but this is all the backstory that I think is equally as important.
We stopped on verse 40.
Yes.
A couple thoughts there on that was the first one I wrote down was that David's mission was not the battle.
Yeah.
But when he got there, he answered God's call for the battle.
Right.
I think that's in our life. Like, a lot of times, God may not call you to do what your end project is.
Right.
In my life, Big Blue, I'll use it as an example. He called me to work with teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
He showed me that one night, just said, basically, "This is what I want you to do." And I said before, my church had 2 kids going to school in our church at that time. And I'm like, God, there's a failure here. Like, you said this, but how am I going to serve if I don't have anyone to serve there? And within a week, I had been given to Big Blue, basically, and that was my actual mission. But I had to be called to youth and placed where he needed me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, David's mission at the beginning of the story was basically like a door dasher, right?
Yeah.
He's bringing grain and bread to his brothers. And doesn't that say something about Saul as an army captain? That was he not even feeding his own army?
That could, yeah.
I'd love to know, right?
40 days of being scared of one guy. Like, oh, yes, that's tough, right?
But yeah, so here's David bringing lunch, and like you said, that was not his mission, but
well, and you could be. I've used the Big Blue one, but I also use my job. My job is to manage a store, but my mission is to talk about God while I'm there.
Yeah.
Your job may be an actual door dasher. And when that person gives you your tip or you hand the food to them, you could just say, "God bless you."
Yeah.
That could be your mission. God could call you to do that, which is share the gospel.
Yeah.
And so you may not be called exactly to the battle or to face a giant, but you could be called to do a lot of things that you're not looking for.
Yeah, any day could change into something completely different, right? You think you're going to do thing one, and you could talk somebody off of a very scary ledge, or you could just be that, you talked about that Waffle House dude. Like, your words are powerful and they can be life-giving or life-taking. And just the way that you conduct yourself with integrity, with love, you can change someone's life all around, or you can change an entire nation's life like David did. You just don't really know where God's going to call you sometimes, but being obedient to his word is what's going to get you there. So,
and the other thought I really had there was that Saul could not wear, or David could not wear Saul's armor. So you have to be comfortable in your own calling, because at that time that was the king's armor, and David wasn't the king. Saul was the king still, and David knew that he wasn't the king. So it wasn't really easy for him to get to that point where he could wear that armor. So I think you can't step outside of the calling that God has on your life. You can't, if you're called to teen ministry and Big Blue, you can't go run a mega church,
right,
and say, well, God told me to do it. You got to be comfortable in your own calling, and you got to be comfortable where God places you, and you can't step outside of that, or I think you're going to fail.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and to me, there's some great symbolism in the fact that, like, here's David kind of in all of Saul's protection gear, right? But David didn't need protecting. Like, he knew where his protection and provision came from, and it wasn't from this shield. It wasn't from all of Saul's stuff. He knew. He said it. He said, look, God protected me from the lion, God protected me from the bear, and God's going to protect me from this giant. I don't need all this stuff, right? That was just like way to be equipped without having equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
And so, all right, we're about running out of time, but tomorrow we're going to line up and have a battle. And I have a couple more thoughts on the stones and stuff from this story, but I think it's going to take us a little while to get into it. So today's going to be a little shorter episode.
What? Wow.
Only had like 17 minutes, people.
I mean, we can't just dive into the rest of the battle now. No, I guess not. That's going to cliffhanger for tomorrow. All right, guys, well, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in the morning.
All right, see you.
Bye.
Hey, guys, thank you for tuning in today. I really love that y'all joined in and you got this far. So here's a few things that we've asked for you to do. Please go to whatever platform you're on, because we're on all the major platforms. And if you're listening to this, you know that. So like, subscribe, share, and invite others to listen. Also, we have a Facebook page, Born Again to Live, the podcast. So go there. Send us prayer requests, comments, whatever you want. It's all there. Private message. If you need answers to questions or any of that, we're there for you. So, thanks again.